Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd with your hosts, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Right, so today we're back on the Hammer trail. We're on our 16th Hammer film, which is The Gorgon, made in 1964. Last one was Evil of Frankenstein. We're on the Frankenstein series, but this one's a standalone. It's Hammer having a go at Greek mythology, which is kind of unusual. And I have to say, it's got like the holy trinity of Hammer, which is Terence Fisher, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing.
And that one castle that seems to be in all of them.
And the one car, oh yeah, the castles was there. Didn't notice any other regulars in it really. No Michael Ripper and so on. However, Barbara Shelley is in it, and she is in a few Hammer films. She's in Rasputin the Mad Monk. She's in Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Quatermass and the Pit. None of which we've covered yet, which is great. But I think Dracula, Prince of Darkness is coming our way soon, so we'll see her again. So okay, what was your? We'll talk about the specifics, and this is going to be spoiler filled. All right. What was your general feeling about the film?
It was okay.
Okay, I think that's about right.
It was good, but like the makeup, the monster makeup, wasn't really that great. It was like some plastic snakes stuck in her hair.
And a bit of makeup, and an old lady replacing. Let's get into spoilers. But an old lady face with some sort of weird eye makeup too, which is the Gorgon. Right. So 1964. So written by John Gilling and Anthony Nelson Keys, who was also a producer. And there's not music by James Bernard, who does a lot of that. It's got that crashing. Pomp music that Hammer does, you know. We all know it. So it looks nice because Terence Fisher's directing, and it's colourful, and we're seeing a lot of stuff scenery we've already seen before, but that's fine. So there's a place, I think it's Germany. There's some sort of weird monster with this place.
It's a town called Vandorf.
So. Oh, we also get Patrick Troughton, which is fantastic.
Yeah, he showed up for like a bit.
It's very striking. He was like the police chief, a bit like the police chiefs in the Universal films. That kind of guy. He was that kind of role. He wasn't very community minded, to be honest, when it comes to some people. Anyway. It starts basically we get a insert card when it starts with the music saying now this place there's a monster there and no one can survive and all this. It starts with this guy painting a nude. We then find out is his girlfriend who's kind of desperate to marry him. She starts crying. He asks why. She's pregnant. What a scandal. So he says, I'm going to go talk to your father. She pursues. He wants to do the right thing because her father does not believe he's up to do the right thing. But that's how it comes out. And she chases him and sees the castle, and then she sees something and screams. Meanwhile, the Patrick Troughton, the inspector, hold on. Oh no, does she die? I'm trying to think. Yes, she dies.
She gets turned to stone.
Yeah, when they bring her in, her finger breaks off. We see a calcified finger, which has touches of Carry On Screaming, weirdly. So we get Dr. Namaroff, who is Peter Cushing, who runs this kind of mental asylum / hospital. It's kind of a little unclear. It's definitely got inmates that have got mental problems, but so there's a touch of the old Dr. Seward in Dracula about it too. So we get Cushing here, and Barbara Shelley is his assistant, Carla Hoffman. Cushing's rocking this kind of wispy moustache stroke mutton chops, isn't he? And he looks pretty cool.
It's like a weird little thing.
Well, it's blondish, so sometimes you can't even see it. So it's like, oh yeah, he's got a moustache. Is how it kind of comes across. It's a different look. And then we get Barbara Shelley as his assistant stroke nurse, whatever she is. She's and he kind of has romantic intentions also, but she's not interested. You're going to get that. Or
she's trying to like stave him off.
But she's also So he declares, and also they go look in the woods and they find the artist hanging from the tree, pretty bloody. Now, how they do this, don't they? They have a shock thing in the first 5 minutes, and then it kind of settles into a more mundane thing. That's their sort of MO, and that's what they do. So we just see the bloke hanging with like blood hanging from his running down his neck from the wounds of the rope, and it gets declared. The doctor sort of, or someone declares it as murder-suicide. He killed her. How he calcified her is kind of hidden.
Well, they explicitly avoid saying that she was calcified, just that like her heart stopped pretty much. Her heart
stopped, and then he hung himself. Nemirov's covering things up basically, and we get the father of the artist Bruno, Professor Heights, who's very angry, not surprisingly, angry man, says, this is a travesty at the inquest, and the police inspectors go, it's like, well, you're not wanted round here. Basically, you're not wanted round here is the implication from the police inspector, is it? Clear off. But he vows to clear the name, and he doesn't he dig up the body at one point?
Yeah, he digs up the body, and it's stone. So
of the girl, right? Yeah. Then Professor Heights goes and visits Nemirov, and they start talking about the Gorgons, whose face or ugliness or whatever it is turn people to stone. But they get it all wrong, don't they? They talk about the three Gorgons.
They say Medusa at one point. But then they identified the Gorgon that's afflicting them as Megara, who was one of the Furies, and the other two Gorgons are Steno and Euryale. I think it's pronounced Euryale.
Yeah, Euryale.
Yeah.
But for some reason they decide not to use the real Gorgon's name. She's what's her name? Megara. They use that term. Whatever.
They keep saying it as Megara.
Megara. Heinz is trying to figure out what's going on, and then a group of villagers come and start throwing. They throw like a firebomb through. Well, like a Molotov cocktail kind of thing, or something on fire through his window, and then
they just chuck a burning stick. And the police arrive and are basically like, "Well, we didn't see anything."
Yeah, so. Leave and they all look dressed respectably. They're not like farmers. It's
not like the slavering horde of villagers with pitchforks that attack Frankenstein. No, it's like 5 guys in their Sunday best.
It's like middle class.
Yeah, these guys may have just come from church. They look like it.
Yeah, it's very weird. And the butler puts out the fire, and the police chief says, "Well, when are you leaving?" Is kind of his attitude. Again, it's Troughton doing a reasonably good job. We also see. Hold on. Professor Heights writes to his son, doesn't he?
His other son.
His other son, Paul, who is studying somewhere, and I'm a bit vague on what he's studying, or maybe he's finished studying. I'm not sure. He's quite old for a student, but he's also got a professor who knows about stuff, who's Christopher Lee in an old man outfit, right? I'm trying to think what Christopher Lee's name was, but it's Christopher Lee as another professor.
Yeah, as Paul's professor. So.
Yeah, so Paul tells him he's got to go off, and he starts making his way to town. Meanwhile, our first professor, Professor Heights, hears this voice outside, doesn't he? And there's a full moon, and he decides to go to the castle. And he sees this weird figure, but doesn't see it quite full on, but mostly. Do we see her at this point? I'm trying to, or just in a.
Yeah, we do see her like on the other side of her room, but we don't see her clearly. We just see a woman in a big robe, and there's plastic snakes in her hair.
Snakes in her hair, and he kind of makes off, and he's going grey basically. Yeah. As he's talking, he goes off and says to his butler, "I need to write."
Yeah, he needs to. He goes, "I need to write," as he's like turning to stone, and he writes 3 full pages of what.
And like really incidental stuff. It's like not like getting on with it. I've gone to the castle. I've seen a Gorgon. Right. It's like one day I was just and you can kind of see his writing getting worse as each picture. And basically, he's turning grey and then starts to turn to stone. He becomes stone, right? When he gets there, it's Namirov's doing another kind of cover up, heart failure. Paul is not allowed to see the body, but Namirov's again heart failure. Paul doesn't believe it. But Carla and Paul kind of start getting attached, don't they? Carla takes on, is rather more kind to him than anyone else in the town.
Yeah, and he's not, harassing her like the Doctor is.
And she kind of suggests Megara does in fact insist. And then later on there's talk that Megara may be possessing a human to give herself physical form. So the suspicion is, I think it builds that there's two possibilities, and one of them kind of disappears pretty quickly. One is like this escaped mental patient, this woman, this cronish woman. They call her an old crone, but when they do a close-up of her when she's dead, she's just a young woman with grey wig or something.
Yeah.
Weird. They didn't get an old woman into... I don't know. Anyway, so the suspicion is either her or Carla, and then she dies. So it's like, oh well, either Megara can possess a dead body, or it's Carla, or it's all a red herring. We don't really know.
Yeah.
So then Carla said goes to Paul and reads the letter under Namirov's instructions to find out some intel, really.
Yeah.
But she's
I'm gonna be frank. The story gets a bit silly from here.
It does. She's memorized the message to go back, but it also tells her about the Gorgon, so she learns a bit more about the Gorgon.
Yeah.
There's this big orderly guy called Ratov who's pretty happy about killing people willingly.
Yeah, he consistently shows up and like chucks knives at people.
He says Martha, this opponent, has escaped, and so that coincides with the sighting of Megara.
Yeah.
So Namirov actually says to Carla she's become human again, or something like that.
Yeah.
Then Paul's hanging around the house and he hears a voice. He goes out into the courtyard and he sees in the reflection of the little pool, the liquid pool, water, a reflection of the figure, and he manages to get away and collapse. He wakes up, his hair's gone grey, he's obviously aged or got way worse, but he didn't see it full on, so he's not counted.
Yeah,
he's actually still alive. So once he gets out, he basically starts rampaging around the town. He tells Namiroff he's going to destroy the creature. But as he's talking with Carla on the way out, Namiroff notices they're holding hands. And we've seen that Namiroff's been trying to make the moves on Carla, and she's been sort of rebuffing him. So Paul digs up his father's grave. There's a lot of grave digging.
Yeah, this keeps happening. So.
And he sees the bodies turned to stone, and then Carla appears, and then Paul says, "I can take you away from all this." But she refuses because it acts like she owes a lot to Namiroff. And we kind of find out apparently she had some sort of amnesia breakdown 5 years before and couldn't get a job, but Namiroff took her in. She's a nurse, I think. Though I'm never quite sure. Then the other professor, Lee turns up, Professor Meister.
Yeah. Meister. And he proceeds to like dominate the rest of the film.
It's kind of fun.
It's just just basically through sheer charisma. He just walks up to the police, to Patrick Troughton. And he's like, "Okay, I need all the information here." And he goes, "Okay, no." And Lee's response is like, "Well, I guess I'll go to the superintendent of the area. I know him quite well." So,
I think he says, "I know the foreign secretary quite well," and the police chief's like, "Oh, sorry, you meant that you wanted this? Oh yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
It's the what key? This key sort of thing from Princess Bride.
Yeah, we get a better touch of the Frankensteins because we see Namiroff lifting up brain out and putting it in a jar. He's doing an autopsy on Martha, so that kind of excludes Martha from this. And he says something like, "Isn't it interesting now? One of God's most beautiful creations is so ugly," which I don't know if that's meant to be a reference to the Gorgon, or I don't know if this film has text. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it could have been.
Yeah.
And Carla says, "Was she Bagheera?" And he's like, "Nah." So okay.
Yeah.
So Meister sort of takes charge of the situation, interrogates Paul, deduce. They work out that Bagheera should not be looked at directly, which is kind of obvious because we know what happens. But if they didn't even refer to how Perseus beat one of the Gorgons, look in the reflection or stuff.
Well, he does. They do kind of use the reflection to avoid looking at her for a bit, but then they just turn around anyway. So.
She's also, it's suggested by the music in the middle of the film, she's got like a magnetic power to make people.
Hypnosis sort of ability.
The inspector starts showing them details of all the women in the last 5 years that have come to Vandorf. Carla's among them. And we kind of again find out she had an amnesiac attack 5 years ago and has been looked after ever since. Then she starts falling out a bit with Namaroff. He's a bit too controlling for her, and she arranges to meet Paul the next morning. And she agrees to come away from him, but it must be that straight away. But then he says, "Well, no, I've got to find Bagheera first. We'll have to wait." And she gets the ump and says, "Well, you're never going to see me again." So it kind of sets up it's definitely Carla. So again, I was wondering, is this a red herring? In fact, let's just say it isn't. It is Carla.
It is not.
It's pretty on the nose. Again, no real subtext in this film. It's just a plain story.
Literally, they put her on a train to send her off to a different town where she'll be supposedly safe.
Yeah, apparently.
And she just doesn't get on the train, and there's no subtlety to this. They reveal it and then reveal that she didn't actually get on the train in the same line, pretty much.
As Paul's walking away from the meeting, Ratoff appears and throws a knife at him, and then Christopher Lee with sheer charisma scares the man away, which is pretty cool. So, like I say, Meister finds this stuff about her being an amnesia, thinks she's Bagheera. Paul's like, "No, it can't be her. No," all that. Then for some reason, they find Carla outside struggling with Ratoff. He's trying to push her about, but they grab her, they hide her in their house. Namaroff turns up with a police search, threatening the professor, and he's like, okay. Oh, by the way, here's the knife your manservant left around. Sort of, you want to play that game, do you? So she doesn't give.
I'm not gonna lie, the film is very silly from this point on. More so than they usually are, and it's kind of confusing and difficult to follow what's actually happening.
Basically, everyone converges on the castle, don't they? Cushing turns up there with a massive sword, like a cavalryman's sword, great big thing, and Paul's there, and then Meister also turns up. So Paul sees Namaroff with a sword. They start fighting, and as they're fighting, Bagheera turns up.
Yeah.
Paul and Namaroff try and resist looking, but they look in the end. Even though there's a great big mirror right next to them, they turn over. Meister arrives, and luckily her back's to him, and he picks up the sword and lops her head off. And then we see her
then turns into Carla's.
Turns into Carla, and it ends. And
that's it.
About it. So everyone except Christopher Lee dies, and the inspector dies pretty much of stone poisoning, I guess you'd call it. So it's okay. I thought the acting was all right. The script was a bit. I mean, there were some decent lines here and there, but it was a bit workaday, wasn't it? Really, that was the thing. And Terence Fisher was tried, but it wasn't his grandest work, because I think the scenes were a bit flat. Even with Cushing and Lee doing them. I mean, Lee actually brought quite a bit of energy to this. Cushing was more kind of relaxed and taciturn, wasn't he? He wasn't really giving it his all, Lee was. It has to be said. I think he was happy he wasn't doing bloody Dracula. That's what it probably was. In fact, is this the first Lee film we've? Oh no, he was in The Mummy, wasn't he? I'm trying to think. It's the first. Is it the first speaking role we've really seen him in?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think
it was Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
well,
I think it might be. I mean, we did Kiss of the Vampire. Going back on what we've done the Frankenstein films where he appears as Frankenstein monsters, but no others. We've done Kiss of the Vampire, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, Phantom of the Opera he wasn't in, Curse of the Werewolf he wasn't in, Jekyll he wasn't in, Brides of Dracula he wasn't in, Mummy he was the Mummy. Hound of the Baskervilles. Yes, he had a speaking role in that, didn't he? Yes. So that one came before this. So yeah, it was okay. I'm not sure I got much else. Barbara Shelley was pretty good. Her acting was actually spot on. I thought it was really good. She kind of was really trying. She was giving it her all and acting quite well. Her reactions were really interesting to watch. But you know, it was all a bit flat, really. Got anything else to say about it? We can rate it.
Really. I think this is so far the worst of the monster looks. Like it.
Yeah.
I know Hammer's like it's cheap and that's like kind of the gimmick of it, but it looks good. But this didn't even look good. It just like it was just some woman with like old makeup and plastic snakes in her hair.
Oh, the woman looked alright. The snakes looked goofy and they were kind of shaking like they were on bits of wire. Just looked a bit goofy. Just so you know, on IMDb it's 6.4 of quite a lot of voters, so that's probably a good average for IMDb. What would you give this out of 10? Oh no, you do your score, don't you? 10 to -10. What would you give it in your rate?
I'd give this like a -2 sort of thing. It was the bits where it was good. It was like it's okay, but it was like almost like it was it just wasn't that entertaining, where sometimes these films can be like entertaining in a bad way.
Yeah, it didn't have much energy until Lee really turned up. I mean, the guy playing Paul was trying his best, and his dad was trying his best, but we don't know those guys, you know, and I think when Lee came in and was giving it some energy, it really picked it up somewhat, but the plot was so straightforward, it was like, it couldn't really be anyone else. Maybe Namaroff, but that felt strange, because Kira's clearly a woman, so that was that. Okay, so you're
the only thing I could have thought it might be was it was like a rigged thing, like the Hand of the Baskervilles. It never really was a Megara. Yeah.
Okay, it didn't occur to me, but yeah, okay. So your rating is kind of close to very, very average.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a 6, and I think it could be, it's a 6. It's a clear 6. It's better than a 5 and worse than a 7, so it's a 6. Right? It's one of that. But it was okay. The poster I quite liked, and the music was all right. But I think if the screenplay had been a bit less flat, it would have popped a bit more, and we'd be talking 7 or 8. Because the quality of acting was fine. It was really the script, I think, that and as you say, the special effects were a bit weak as well. That didn't help. Okay, all right, we'll wind up there. So that's our number 16 of Hammer. So bye from me.
Bye.